Warning, I am not an author or a writer of any kind. I'm just basically picking up the pieces or just picking up pieces from others and just the pieces in general and putting them back together in such a way that it's easy to understand. Also, I stutter a lot, and basically I don't usually voice that often, like, in my videos, because I'm just, like, a freaking mess. So, yeah, if you guys are all ready, then let's get started. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, bolts and grills. My name is Bolt Indy, and if you clicked on this video, then you're basically interested in what this little project of mine is and what exactly am I going to do with it. If you checked the thumbnail or just the title itself, then you'll probably see it's called RWBY The Power of Choice, and that it's basically freeform discussions and what ifs. And so, just from that alone, you could probably tell I'm a fan of RWBY. But I haven't been a fan for very long. In fact, I only found out about RWBY and fell in love with it just a few months back in, like, either October or November, like just a few months before Volume 7 came out. So I'm a pretty recent fan, or just a pretty recent... I just joined recently. But just binge watching the volumes and just reading all the other content is just... wow, I have to say, RWBY really did impress me. But anyway, I joined RWBY a few months back, and I fell in love with it. The fight scenes, the characters, the world, the inspirations, and just the feel of this world is just so invigorating. It's so exciting and interesting. And I could just feel so much potential. Like, it made me happy at some parts, it made me sad in others, there were times I felt angry, there were sometimes I felt genuinely sad and heartbroken. This show just gave me the feels for both the heroes and the villains alike. But since I was a recent fan, I wasn't really much aware of the flaws that were hidden in this show at the time. That was until I stumbled upon Celtic Phoenix, or more specifically Celtic Phoenix Productions. He basically had this entire series called Fixing RWBY. So, being curious, I decided to watch, and he helped open my eyes. RWBY was indeed just as flawed, if not even more flawed of a show. But he wasn't negative about it. In fact, he was actually quite civil. And he even said something along the lines of just deconstructing the elements that were present in RWBY and then shaping them in a way that makes it more enjoyable. He's basically capitalizing and expanding upon what should have happened in the show. And that was my first introduction into the rewriting side of the RWBY fandom, or the community. And it was actually thanks to him that now I've basically become a fan of rewriting. Because now I seem to have an eye for, like, things that may not make sense or just don't really fit in, like, movies or just television shows or films. Anyway, the other two people that got me interested into rewriting, aside from Celtic, and only solidified my love for this series, are Unicorn of War, aka Thomas Vacuro, and Lord Draconic 67. They too were both pretty civil with their criticisms of the show, and I think that's what I admire most about these guys, is that they don't outright hate the show. Oh, they just want to point things out in a civil way, but they're also pretty lively, and they do make some pretty good jokes and entertainment. And that's just really amazing to me. So anyway, I kept thinking of all these wonderful ideas that I was now presented with thanks to these three, and the more I searched other RWBY rewrite videos and just rewrites in general, I became more and more interested in the idea of, hey, what if I did the same? What if I basically made these discussion videos about RWBY? What if I put my own twists on them? Like what if I was able to what if I expanded upon a character's backstory? What if I gave a character this type of backstory? What if I was able to fix this character? Yeah. And that's basically how this idea of starting a RWBY discussion series began. But I also started getting into what if scenarios, like just a few months back after watching this channel simply titled What If, and just the possibilities and scenarios. They fascinated me to a point where I was asking, what if? And I was just fascinated by these different ideas of what if Arthur Watts was a hero or an anti-hero? What if Tyrion had basically not escaped from the airship, or just these new RWBY what if ideas? And so that's when the idea for RWBY the Power of Choice came in. And as for why I specifically chose the Power of Choice for the title, is because choice is one of the main elements of humanity, or one of the core elements of humanity, and one of the gifts from the gods, along with creation, destruction, and knowledge. And I like to believe that choice is the most powerful, because it literally dictates the other three. Like, all the knowledge you possess, or the knowledge you want to learn, it's all based on choice. Whether you want to create or destroy is based on your choice. And so that's basically what this new series is hoping to highlight, is that through the power of different choices, we can make a different outcome, or a better outcome. And so here we are, with me discussing to you this new series. And anyway, how will it work, you may be asking? Well, I kind of have an idea of where I want to go with this series. So, there will be seasons. Each season will probably contain a set number of episodes. Okay, I feel like I should mention this, but instead of a set number of episodes, what I'm going to do is that after each new volume is released and if a brand new character or event is introduced, basically, I'll continue each season, but then put it on hiatus until a new volume comes out. And when that new volume comes out with new events and new characters, I'll basically resume each series with brand new episodes. So basically, I'm going to be covering everything from Volume 1 to Volume 7 currently, until Volume 8 comes. So if I'm probably finished with all the with a bunch of episodes by then, basically the seasons will be put on hiatus until the new volume arrives, or probably some new content, since I'm also bringing in characters from the books and other outside and anything outside the main series, like RWBY Grim Eclipse with Dr. Merlot. And those episodes will be grouped into volumes. And so here we have Season 1. And here's basically a preview of what Season 1 will be and what it's about. Season 1 is basically trying to expand upon the villains of RWBY. Like, how can we make the RWBY villains better? Like, can we expand upon certain characteristics, attributes, or parts of their backstory? Can we capitalize on missed opportunities? Can we possibly fix or rearrange these characteristics and attributes so that way they can better fit into the story? And I chose to do the villains first because, you know the phrase, a villain is only as good as their heroes. And that's basically, and RWBY really highlights this because both the heroes and the villains are pretty much flawed in their own way. Outside the series, of course. And so what Season 1 hopes what I hope to do in Season 1 is basically help make the villains great again. Just make them actually be able to be a villain or just an antagonist. Have them be like more complex, give more sustenance, or just add meat to the bone. And see how many sympathetic villain angles I could possibly just pile onto this roster. Oh yeah, I should probably mention, this Season 1 won't just be covering villains. It'll also be covering, like, neutral characters. Or just neutral evils. Or just somewhere near the neutrally evil and the lawful evil side of things. It's basically characters who basically act evil to our heroes or protagonists, but don't necessarily aren't necessarily aligned with the villain, the main antagonists. They're just off doing their own thing or are just a third party. This includes like Raven Bronwyn, Vernal, and just basically Dr. Merlot, and just basically anyone outside of Salem's Circle, the White Fang, or just us, the Vale Underground. And I'm just really excited because there's just so much to talk about, so much to unpack. So, those are the basics. That's basically the basics of what's going down. I apologize if it wasn't much. This is kind of my first rodeo announcing this project. And I am not much of a guy who sees things such as RWBY as failed experiments or just failures. All I see are missed opportunities. And I'm just really now a fan of trying to rearrange, fix, expand, or just like, well, basically capitalize, expand, or fix those missing opportunities so they can better fit the narrative or the plot RWBY is trying to tell. These videos are basically they aren't meant to be like, to bash anything. They're merely just to discuss, to openly discuss and just ask different scenarios. Speaking of scenarios, there are the what ifs. Now, the what if videos are basically going to be like, they ask a question. Well, basically, I ask a question, or just I come up with a question to ask, like, what if Arthur Watts became a hero or an anti-hero? What if Pyrrha got shot through the heart with an arrow at Beacon Tower? What if Roman survived his encounter at Beacon? What if the fall of Beacon was prevented? Basically, things like that. And we're going to be looking for the best possible outcomes. And there will be like multiple different paths to choose from and discuss, like, where does the character go from here? Do you choose path number 1, path number 2, or path number 3? Like, what do you want to happen or see next? And we're going to be exploring all those paths. So that way we can basically explore the best outcomes for each path. And I know I sound a bit optimistic, but if you ask me, I honestly think hatred and apathy are just wastes of time and resources. Why would I endlessly need to just continuously brew this unwanted emotion at something when I could actually be using my time and my energy to do something productive? I don't hate RWBY or don't hate anything about it. I'm just trying to be like open to discussion and the different possibilities. You see, like the RWBY YouTuber by the name of Vexed Viewer, I am completely fine with Blake and Yang becoming a couple. It's just the way they're doing it. It is going down on a unsure path. This video ain't meant to offend anyone. I don't mean to offend anyone. I just want to be open to discussion, to just ask what if scenarios. I'm just really excited because I don't really like to get to voice again, like, I don't normally voice in my videos because I'm a stuttering mess, as you could probably hear me right now, and I probably made over like 1,000,000 stutters in just this one video alone. But I really want to just try this out and see where it can go. Anyways, I hope I've covered everything. And I hope to see what you guys think. Leave your comments in the comment section down below, and I'll see you next time, you guys. This is Bolt Indie, signing out.